Admiral Tidd, thank you. Well, thank you both for your testimony and your service. But Admiral, our strategy now is great power competition, first and foremost. Senator Inhofe asked you to drill down on China, so let me ask you to then turn to Russia, which you discussed extensively in your written testimony. You mentioned Cuba, Nicaragua, and Venezuela. Is that principally where they're playing? What are they trying to do there, and where else do we need to be concerned?
Senator, those are the countries in which previously the Soviet Union had a long-standing relationship, and Russia has continued that relationship. However, they continue to engage in a direct competition for influence with some of our key partners around the region. Our challenge is to be able to disprove the false narrative that Russia peddles in the region, that the United States is withdrawing, that we are not a reliable partner. And so many of the actions that we engage in are directly intended to show our partners who are very much interested in working with us that we are, in fact, share common interests. We certainly share common democratic values and principles, which neither Russia nor China share.
You're not a diplomat, you're a military person, but if the President's new openness to the Trans-Pacific Partnership advances, would that be helpful to us in making the point that we can be a reliable partner?
Senator, I don't profess to be either a diplomat or an economist, but I would just observe that the things that we do to show our partners directly, and we have Pacific-facing nations within the Southcom region, anything that we can do to show that we are reliable partners is valuable.
To what extent are we comfortable with the militaries of these countries subscribing to the position that we advocate, and that we're the great standard of the military being answerable to the civilian leadership? And to what extent are the members of their legislative bodies significant players in this regard?
Senator, I think each of the countries differs slightly. My relationships are with the military leaders of the countries. My observations and my conversations genuinely reflect that they recognize and are grounded in the same democratic principles that really are characteristic, that were the founding characteristics of the Americas community. I think, as we have seen, as a number of elections that have occurred throughout the region that led to changes in government positions, the militaries in each instance have played a very reasoned, responsible role, and they recognize that the ability to freely and fairly express democratic preferences is enshrined in the background of this theater, have been respected. The one country I think that I would highlight, though, that has been singularly contrary to that has been Venezuela, where recent elections have been neither free nor fair.
Very good. Let me ask you quickly to shift to the ships, the role of the Coast Guard there, and I mean, clearly it's going for you. It's going to continue being almost totally Coast Guard. And if you could take a moment to say how you plan to integrate unmanned systems into your platform.
Senator, I've said before on a number of occasions, in the U.S. Southcom region, my maritime force has white hulls and orange stripes. And frankly, if it were not for the United States Coast Guard and the significant effort by the Commandant, we would not have a maritime presence. That's not because my parent service, the United States Navy, doesn't recognize the very significant importance of the region. It is just a matter of strategic priorities and availability of forces, and we run out of mission. We run out of forces before we run out of mission. The Coast Guard cutters that have been participating are irreplaceable. The national security cutters, terrific when we get them, but the real workhorse, the cop on the beat vessels are the those medium endurance cutters, many of which are past 30 years in age. Some were built in the 1960s. And so the recapitalization of those medium endurance cutters with the offshore patrol cutters, I view as extremely important to U.S. Southcom's ability to provide an adequate maritime presence in our region.
Unmanned?
Unmanned vessels, some unmanned aerial vehicles. There are some challenges procedurally to incorporate them in the missions that we are engaged in, but we are actively exploring efforts to be able to do that.
Thank you.